Braxton, I've kind of hit a wall with typing comments for students on their Paulsen exercises, so this is not the norm, but I'm shooting you a quick video with feedback on the writing that you did for these. At a glance, these are problematic. You got APA citations here and here, and you got an APA citation here. You need to be following MLA guidelines. MLA guidelines dictates that, well, you only have the author's last name in the citation, no comma or year, and these are placed somewhat awkwardly. Well, more about that in a second. But definitely get your MLA guidelines down. Look for the work on a website model in your MLA chapter. I noticed these quotes, none of them have signal phrases, and that's a problem. So before the direct quote, you need to have a, according to Roland Paulsen in his article, The Art of Not Working at Word, comma, blah, 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 blah. But you need the author's name and the verb leading up to the quote. Do not use you and your in any academic writing ever. Let's see. This is an awkward integration, though no perceptible movement to reduce hours in relation to this increased productivity. See how that doesn't read? That just reads like a fragment. You needed to do some writing beforehand to kind of set this one up. Roland Paulsen observes that there has been no perceptible movement to reduce workers' hours, so something like that. So you would have to supply author has observed that no perceptible. And you might it's a little tricky, honestly. Like you might could put in a bracketed phrase to make that read a little more cleanly too. And that was sort of the point of this fragment quote, which is it offers you a different type of composition problem, which might have meant you taking just a half of the thing or altering it somehow, certainly with changing what you put up in here. So again, block quote, you're going to need a signal phrase. You're going to need to set this up like the one in the textbook. Look at your model MLA sample paper at the back of at the end of the chapter, and you'll find a block quote there. I appreciate that you're doing some discussion after the fact. That looks good. In the case of this one, I like what you did here to indicate that this was not Paulsen's words. Given that person's name up here would have been good to Corinne Meyer. And then here you would need a citation that had QTD period in Paulsen to show the reader that this is found in the Paulsen source, though it is not Paulsen's words. Let's look back at your summary and paraphrase integration. Now, typically, I see why you gave this one, because you gave a little fragment quote there. In MLA and in the humanities, we don't tend to like citations to come here at the end, because the understanding is that you would never include a source without following it with some discussion. And so I'd say that while that's not a mistake, it's not stylistically appropriate and somewhat frowned upon. So in this one, just know that when you're summarizing, you're putting the writing in your own words and you're not using direct quotes. When you integrate a summary, it would typically last more than a sentence, probably 2 to 3, or at least half of the paragraph, or usually more like half of the paragraph, and then you follow it up with the latter half, which offers your analysis or discussion. For the paraphrase prompt, I wanted you to put writing in your own words, not use a direct quote. So to that end, make sure you're reading your assignment directions very carefully, in which I state don't use quotes when you're paraphrasing and summarizing, because those skills ask that you put things in your own words. I'd really appreciate it if you would look at my models that I provided. This is the Tuck writing file that can be found here at the top of each new live week. Here's a sample body paragraph that integrates a summary. What I've done here is, I've summarized a point from Paulsen. It's taken me 2 or 3 sentences, and then I've discussed it here. I have a citation there to show the reader that, hey, I'm done reporting at this point, and I have a signal phrase here to show where I begin reporting. You need both. You need a signal phrase here, citation there, and as you can see, no quotes. I'm putting the writing in my own words. As for the quotes, you know, have Paulsen's name in a signal phrase that leads up to the quote. This is how I handled that fragment quote, which was a little awkward. But I mean, this looks good though. Anyway, make sure you're looking at the models I provide and reading those directions carefully. Keep working on following MLA guidelines.